Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And welcome into the stream, you guys, as the New York Mets unable to complete the sweep of the Tigers here this afternoon. They had won the first two games of this one pretty handily yesterday, both of those scoring double-digit runs where the offense was just absolutely on fire. They got good enough pitching in those games, although Monday, they obviously didn't get the greatest performance, giving up 8 runs. But today, the Mets pitching, and specifically out of the bullpen, just too much for this lineup to overcome. Casey Mize performed pretty well for the Tigers, and their bullpen was able to keep it together and get some key outs in the later innings of this one. And again, something that the Mets bullpen was just not capable of doing today. Gregory Soto coming in with 2 outs and 2 men on in relief of Klay Holmes in the 5th inning, and promptly uncorks a wild pitch before giving up a 2-run single to give the Tigers the lead, and they would never look back from there. The Mets unable to cash in on a 6th inning bases loaded and 1-out opportunity as Starling Marte rolls into an inning-ending double play. And then in the 7th, it was Ryan Helsley time, and unfortunately this roller coaster just continues with Ryan Helsley, except there's really been no ups with Ryan Helsley since coming over from St. Louis in the trade that happened at the deadline. Ryan Helsley has just been flat out awful since putting on a Mets uniform. There was a stat that they showed up there on the SMY broadcast. In his previous 11 appearances with the Cardinals before coming over to the Mets, had just 1 earned run in his last 11 appearances, or at least first 11 appearances now here with the Mets, has given up 11 runs. And of course, 3 more here today as he goes just 2/3 of an inning, gives up 3 hits, a walk, and allows a 3-run homer from Kerry Carpenter that just put this game out of reach to make it 6-2 as the Mets bullpen does not get the job done. And specifically 2 additions that David Stearns made at the trade deadline in Gregory Soto and in Ryan Helsley. So a very disappointing loss for sure. The Mets took care of business, did their job. They won 2 out of 3 from the team with the best record in the American League, but this was a very winnable game, and so it is definitely a frustrating one and a missed opportunity to continue to gain ground on both the Reds and the Giants, who are trailing them in the 3rd spot for the National League wildcard, in addition, of course, to the Phillies in the National League East, no matter how far-fetched that idea is of still winning the division. But guys, what is up? I'm Tony Metro. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Daily Mets content, post-game recap after every Mets game right here on my channel. You can follow me on all my other platforms as well, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all of those are in the description below of this video. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go ahead, leave this video a like right now. Let's go to the chat. So if Mendoza wanted Helsley to get working, why didn't he do it last night when they were up big? Why would he do it in a close game? Should have let Holmes finish the inning. Hey, man, I don't know if I would have let Holmes finish the inning. So he didn't actually go to Helsley while Holmes was pitching. He went to Soto when Holmes was pitching. And honestly, the only beef I have with that decision from Carlos Mendoza is if he wanted Soto to come in and face a lefty, why didn't he have him face the first lefty that Holmes walked, right? So it was a man on first, a lefty up to the plate. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Keith there. Or no, I'm sorry. It might have been Carpenter, actually. Yes, it was. He walks Carpenter. Then he goes to Gregory Soto. They're both lefties. Why wouldn't you go to Gregory Soto with 2 outs and go after Carpenter, the first lefty? Instead, Klay Holmes walks Carpenter. That brings up Riley Green, and Riley Green, after getting a steady diet of sliders from Soto, hits a fastball right back up the middle, and it looked like Green could not figure out that slider. I was really surprised to see that Soto didn't stick with it. And then you obviously have the wild pitch, which sets that entire inning in motion. That puts runners at 2nd and 3rd. That makes it 3-1. The Mets do their rally there in the 6th. You get the base hit from Vientos to make it 3-2. A walk to load the bases by McNeil, and then Starling Marte, first pitch swing and grounds into a double play. Big momentum swing. But as far as the decision to go to Soto, I just would have done it a batter earlier and had him face Carpenter instead of allowing Klay Holmes, who was clearly losing the zone at that point in the middle of the 5th inning, to walk Carpenter instead of letting him do that. But D-Rels, hey Tony, what's up D-Rels? How you doing, man? What's your opinion on this game? What do you have to say about Mendoza's managing decisions? I want to hear from you, D-Rels. David Schultz, Helsley is a liability at this point. Send him to Syracuse to figure it out. Call up Sprout to take his roster spot. So I'm assuming that Ryan Helsley does not have any options and cannot be sent down to AAA. Again, this is the case with Kodai Senga. We just learned today that the Mets have essentially asked Senga if he would accept a minor league assignment and go down to AAA and try to figure things out. He has to accept that. He has to consent to the minor league assignment. That is the same case with Ryan Helsley. So as much as I would like to see that happen, David, as much as I agree with you, who knows if he's actually willing to do that. It takes a lot of pride to swallow to accept that, hey, I'm not getting the job done. I need to go down to the minor leagues. But that is exactly the case with Ryan Helsley. So we'll see if that happens. We haven't heard anything about it, but he is unpitchable at this point. You cannot put Ryan Helsley into a game at this point, much less a one-run game there. I mean, you're basically expecting him to give up at minimum one run. Today triples that with the 3-run homer. He is unpitchable at this point. And if the Mets do in fact make the playoffs, I don't see how the Mets can include this guy on their playoff roster. There's just no way you can carry Ryan Helsley on this playoff roster. Now, the unfortunate side of things is, who else do you go to? And so I don't hate on Carlos Mendoza for going to Ryan Helsley there in the 7th inning, because who else does he go to? You only have so many guys that you can have on your bullpen, out of your bullpen. So I don't hate that he goes to Helsley. I'm sorry, but the blame just has to fall on Helsley himself. At some point, personal responsibility on the players not performing is what we need to point the finger at. Mendoza is doing all he can. He does not have Reed Garrett right now. Obviously, there have been a rash of injuries to this pen the entire season. Ryan Helsley just has not gotten the job done. Let's go back to the chat. Armand says, hey, Tony, get Ryan Helsley off the team. Either call up Sprout or John Pintaro for the pen. It can't get worse. It really can't. Honestly, it cannot be any worse than what we have seen from Ryan Helsley lately. I mean, this has just been brutal. Like I said in the beginning of this stream, Helsley's previous 11 appearances with St. Louis prior to coming over to the Mets in the trade, just 1 earned run. I think he has now something around 15 earned runs since becoming a Met. If you include the 3-run homer today, it has just been hellacious. Hell on earth, as you see in the thumbnail. And I hope that's not offensive to anybody, but that's what it's been watching Ryan Helsley. It has been so bad, and you cannot use him. You cannot use him in high leverage. You cannot use him in low leverage. Even in blowout games, he gives up runs. He is seeking out advice from former teammate Jack Flaherty before yesterday's game about him tipping pitches. He is in his head. He is a complete mess, and he is unusable for this team right now. Absol says, hopefully Helsley not in the postseason roster. I can't see him being on this postseason roster the way it's going. Even if he racks up 3 or 4 scoreless appearances down the stretch, I still don't trust the guy. He would have to do so much more than that to regain my trust and to include him on this playoff roster. Edward Christian Aqua and Helsley confidence is shot right now. Bringing him in on a tight game is a mistake. Overreaching by Mendoza. Send him down, get some momentum, or DFA him. Series win is a series win. Yeah, so a series win, it's nice. We took it to them yesterday. They scored 10 runs on Monday. A couple of comebacks in this one, or in that one, and they obviously win 2 out of 3 against the team with the best record in the American League. But very winnable game here today. It's a matter of a few pitches here where if Gregory Soto can get the job done that he was brought in to do, and that is get left-handed batters out, we're talking about a 1-1 ball game still instead of a 3-1 game. Then you got obviously Marte not coming through there with the bases loaded, first pitch swinging into the double play. But after that, 3-2, and Helsley gives up the 3-run bomb. There was just no way they were going to come back and win this game. I didn't see it happening, especially with Will Vest on the mound, who has been the best reliever for Detroit this season. So definitely a tough one. They do get the job done, taking 2 out of 3, but you get a little greedy after winning those first 2 and after you put double-digit runs up in both of those games, and you're hoping that you might be able to get the sweep, especially ahead of this all-important series with Cincinnati over the weekend. Not the case today. Armand says Ryan Helsley does not have any minor league options. That's right. So he would have to go through waivers or accept a minor league assignment. That is my understanding of how it works. I could be wrong, but how about this, guys? Helsley, 0-3 with an 11.45 ERA and has allowed 3 home runs since joining the Mets. I was live when the Mets traded for Ryan Helsley. It was shortly after they had acquired Tyler Rogers on the same day, and I was excited. I was ecstatic. I thought we were going to have a lockdown bullpen in the back end there to set the bridge up for Edwin Diaz at the end of games. It has been anything but. They have been about as unsturdy a bridge as you could ever imagine. Helsley has been a huge reason for that. So extremely disappointing with what we have gotten out of him. Red Bear Fox, why do people think anyone could just be sent down? You can't. Exactly. He can't be sent down. This guy has multiple years of major league service. He is not going anywhere. It's either you basically DFA him, you phantom injury list Ryan Helsley, or he accepts a minor league assignment. Even that, I'm not totally sure about all the weeds of if he has to pass through waivers still, but basically, you have to bury him on this depth chart at this point in the bullpen. He is at the bottom of the totem pole in this bullpen. I have more faith in the likes of Brandon Waddell's and Rico Garcia, wherever he may be out on the streets right now. I have more faith in Chris Davinsky, those names, than I do in Ryan Helsley, because at this point, it is just mental for this guy. Like I said, you saw him in the pregame action yesterday, talking with former teammate, now current Tiger, Jack Flaherty, about his pitch tipping. If you're going over to your former teammate and guys on the other side of the dugout, I mean, that's just brutal, man. If you're seeking out advice from just about anybody and turning over every stone to figure out what's wrong, you are not in a good mental space. That is for sure. Armand says Mike Puma reported we will find out about saying a decision on Friday. That's correct. So the Mets apparently have basically proposed the idea to Kodai saying to go down to AAA for a minor league assignment. He would have to accept it per the terms of his contract and his service time, of course. Red Bear Fox, today was mostly on Marte. He crushed them multiple times today. He definitely did not have a good day, Red Bear Fox. Marte's first pitch swinging, rolling into that double play, a little 5-4-3, killed that rally. I don't hate him swinging first pitch there. I know you just walked Jeff McNeil before that. A lot of people want to see you take a first pitch, but that first pitch is usually going to be the guy trying to get back into the strike zone, and you might get a cookie to hit, and Marte did. He just missed it. He missed it. He grounded out, and that is that. So definitely not a good day for Starling Marte, that's for sure. Came up again there in the 8th with first and second, and also grounded out to shortstop. So not a good day at all for Starling Marte. CB says Helsley is absolutely terrible, but the team didn't even erase the original run deficit. Loss really isn't his fault. I really don't want to see him in the playoff. No, I don't want to see him on the playoff roster, and I understand. He is definitely not the one to blame for this game, but he definitely put this game too far out of reach. When the Mets couldn't cash in on that opportunity there in the 6th inning after Marte hit into the double play, you had to keep it 3-2. You couldn't let it get much more, maybe 4-2, but a 3-run homer in the 7th is just an absolute backbreaker. So I don't blame Ryan Helsley for the loss, but he and Gregory Soto definitely put this one out of reach. Red Bear Fox says today was, he says, I think they said Helsley's ERA is over 11. Yes, 11.45. Armand says he's always got it. Armand is always on top of it with the stats. From SMY Mets, Ryan Helsley has allowed 14 earned runs in 11 innings pitched as a Met. That's an 11.45 ERA. He had allowed just 12 earned runs in 36 innings as a Cardinal. I mean, there's really no explaining it, guys. I mean, something is just so amiss with this guy. And I can understand needing to adjust to a new city, to a new team, and everything that goes into it from the human aspect of things when you get traded. But man, it is crazy to see just how precipitous the downfall has been for what was one of the top high leverage relievers for the last couple of years with St. Louis. The Mets have to figure it out and have to figure it out fast, or you cannot count on this guy moving forward, and especially not into the playoffs. Joe, leave Helsley in the Motor City. I mean, at this point, man, you're going to have to make him buy his own flight to get back to New York or head out to Cincinnati, because he is not pulling his weight. He is just killing this team. Red Bear Fox, Helsley's fastball has been rocked all season, and you saw it there in that inning. You know, the leadoff base hit, which unfortunately was kind of a blooper that just falls in, and Keith said it perfectly. When it's going bad, it's going bad. You can't catch a break, but then walks Gleyber Torres. And in those first 2 at-bats, couldn't throw his slider for a strike. Just couldn't get a bite on it from any of the batters to swing out of the zone. And when he's just sitting 102 with that fastball, I don't care if it's 101, 102. These are MLB hitters. If they know what's coming, they can catch up to it and they can hit it. And that's exactly what happened today, like it's happened so many times for him. Red Bear Fox only what do you say? Can Helsley go on the IL for mental health? I mean, I suppose that's definitely within reason, right? I mean, at this point, I think just about anything would be fine, physical or mental, but I've never really heard that before, but I don't see why not. We'll have to check in with OSHA and see what they have to say about that, but I wouldn't see why that's not against the rules of putting someone on a bereavement kind of thing. I don't know. Let's see. CB says, I'm waiting for the announcement that Helsley is going on the IL for some tear or injury. He's either hurt or he is just mentally totally checked out with things. He is just a mess. I don't know. It's one of the two. Could even be both at this point, but it just doesn't make sense how he could flip the script in such a negative manner after coming over in this trade. Edward Christian Aquan, I mean, 1 run to a 4-run lead frees our bats, to be honest. Low production from our batters, but the problem is having our big-time deadline acquisitions. The worst outing lately, atrocious, confidence gone. Yeah, look, you bring in Gregory Soto to get lefties out. So like I said, in that 4th or 5th inning, you could have brought him in to face Kerry Carpenter instead of allowing Klay Holmes to pitch to him, who had just walked. It was either Torres or it was Keith. I can't remember exactly. It might have been a failed double play turn. They just couldn't get one of those guys. I think it was Keith coming down the line. Instead, you let Holmes pitch to Carpenter, who was already showing a little bit of being erratic with his command. He walks Carpenter, and then you go to Soto for the next lefty up in Green. And he had a 2-strike count. He was working that slider on him. Green looked like he couldn't figure out the slider at all. And then he throws him a fastball, and he hits that one up the middle. So it's not just Helsley. Gregory Soto didn't do his job either today. You bring him in with the hopes that in the playoffs, down the stretch, he's going to be able to get the Otanis and the Schwarbers and the Harpers out of the league, and he can't do it today against Riley Green, who is having a tremendous season. Don't get me wrong, but Gregory Soto equally as guilty and culpable for putting this one out of reach just as much as Ryan Helsley. That is for sure. Absol, watching the Mets like this makes me want football season to get underway, but then I realize I'm a Jets fan. Oh my God, I cannot watch the Jets this year. I don't think I'm going to watch opening day against the Steelers. I know how that's going to go. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers throwing for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards on the Jets' head as they beat us 24-10. I know exactly how it's going to go, so I'm with you, Absol. I am not ready to watch football at all. CB says this offense scores runs like nothing lately. 10 runs easily. I'm not buying the lead being more causing their bats to be quiet. No, I'm not either. It's one of those things, though. It's tough. It's a 6-2 win. You know, you just put up 10 runs the day before, 12 runs yesterday. It's hard to come out and continue to have to score at least 6 runs to win a game. I know yesterday the bullpen obviously kind of went to some of the, I think it was Brandon Waddell, and that's why that game ended up being a final of 12-5 when it was 12-2. But they end up needing 5-6 runs almost every game because of how poorly this pitching staff has been. But before Klay Holmes actually had that 5th inning where he ran into trouble before he exited, I actually thought this was the best that Klay Holmes has looked in a long time. Now, I know he still was giving up his usual base hits and his walks, but he was locating pitches on the corners inside and outside to both lefties and righties. He had good bite on his breaking pitches. He was getting a lot of chase, a lot of swing and miss. This, in my opinion, despite only getting 4 2/3, I think it was more a managerial decision based on where the game was at that moment with the lefty in the batter's box in Green there. I actually think it was a really solid performance from Klay Holmes, one that I am encouraged by at least. Guys, go ahead, leave this video a like right now if you have not already done so. Appreciate y'all very much for being in here. Armand says, what's funny is that Helsley will be a free agent this offseason and go to a team like the Brewers, Rays, Guardians on a 1-year prove-it deal and be successful. Typically how it goes, man. And sometimes we love being New Yorkers. We love being New York Mets fans and sports fans, but sometimes the lights are just too bright in this city for some players. And I don't know that to be the case for Ryan Helsley. Could be a physical injury. could be something else. But that can be the case as well, that it's just too bright for him here in New York. So wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. It's a tale as old as time, Armand. Guys going over to smaller markets and having great success that they couldn't have here with the Mets. Mark Rapp, Mendoza needs to answer serious questions about bringing him in and not be let off the hook. So, I mean, Mark, I will just say this. I don't have a problem with Mendoza going to Helsley there in the 7th, because who else was he going to go to there? I mean, it's the top of the order. That's the only thing I could nitpick about bringing in Helsley in a one-run game with the top of the order there. But other than that, who are you going to go to there, right? I mean, I don't see any other option at this point. The Mets just have a very weak and very undependable bullpen right now. You obviously already used Soto. He's a lefty anyway, so you wouldn't probably bring him in if you even had him available at that point. Did you want to go to Ryan Stanek? I mean, they just don't have a lot of options right now. Reed Garrett is still out. There's no Huascar Brazoban. Not that I think we would want to see him. And so that is why I continue to beat the drum to bring Brandon Sproat up. Bring Sproat up, whether it's to pitch in the rotation and move Holmes to the bullpen or Manaea to the bullpen, or put Sproat directly into the bullpen and see what he can do pitching in relief. They need some new blood in this pen. It's not working out with the deadline acquisitions. You could have went to Tyler Rogers there, I suppose, or even Brooks Raley, who's a lefty. So there are your other options. I'll give you that. We'll hear from Carlos Mendoza here as the show goes on. I'm going to look for that here in just a second. Joe says that Soto wild pitch hurt too. That was a backbreaker. You put 2 runners in scoring position with 2 strikes. That was a backbreaker for sure. And then he throws the first fastball of the at-bat to Green, who just absolutely clocks it back up the middle for the 2-run single. That definitely hurt for sure. Even though the Mets had their opportunity in the 6th inning, the very next half inning, they're able to claw back 1 run. Unfortunately, Marte unable to get the job done as he grounds into the inning-ending bases-loaded double play. But Armand says they used Hergert and Stanek last night. Yes, correct. So they used Hergert, sorry, not Waddell. I always mix up all the Uber driver bullpens. But yes, they used Hergert and Stanek last night. So could have went to Tyler Rogers there instead of Ryan Helsley. I guess that would be the one legitimate option. Or if you wanted to see if Brooks Raley, being a lefty, could have taken control of that top half, the top of the order there for the Tigers in the 7th. So I'll give you that. Not bad options at all. Danny Caps, in my opinion, Helsley doesn't like New York, and this is his way to say, I hate it here. I hope not. And honestly, I really don't think he would do that, because that is a terrible career move considering he is a free agent after this season. So I really, really doubt he is purposely pitching poorly just because he doesn't like being with New York. This guy is pitching for a contract next season. So I really doubt that to be the case. Maybe he just can't handle it. I don't know. Something ain't right with this guy. Mets, Mark Rack and Mr. Met pitch. I would rather have Mr. Met pitching right now than I would Ryan Helsley at this point. Danny Cap says, what hurt us more than Marte's double play? Yes, Marte's double play was a killer, absolute killer. And yes, Waddell was sent down. That is correct, Armand. Thank you. This is always a turnstile of pitchers for the Mets bullpen of the last couple of months. So it's hard to keep track of who is up and who is down now at this point. But let's go ahead and listen to what the guys had to say after this one. I do want to hear from Carlos Mendoza what he had to say about his decision to pitch Stanek there. I don't know if they're actually going to ask him about that or if it's just going to be kind of on Stanek and his struggles, but let's go and hear what they had to say. Guys, go ahead. Oh, I hate when I do that. Whoops, wrong one. CB says that would cost Helsley some big bucks. Exactly right. Yeah, so I don't think he's purposely not pitching well. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But anyway, let's hear what Mendy has to say on pitching in New York. So, hey, perfect topic, kind of what I was talking about. Is New York just too big for Ryan Helsley, who has spent his entire career with the St. Louis Cardinals? Let's give this a listen.
Do you think there's anything to the mental side of the guy that comes to New York, pitching in New York for the first time?
I wouldn't say in New York. You know, like these guys are closers. Closers, especially when you're that good. You know, for him, I mean, I think it's just, if anything, it's just the struggles, you know. But whether it's New York, St. Louis, whatever the case might be, big league players are going to go through stretches where it's hard. But I wouldn't put it on like New York. These guys built for it. So.
Do you think
Yeah, and I agree because honestly, I don't like the narrative of, oh, people can't play in New York. There are some cases like that. I think more specific to like being, hey, the quarterback for the Jets or for the Giants, that's a whole different animal. But being a reliever, pitching in New York, I mean, first of all, half the games are not even actually in New York. So I'm sorry. I find it hard to believe that these guys who are the top 1% of the top 1% can't pitch simply because the front of their uniform says New York. So I don't usually like that argument. It's just something mechanical. It is something physical. Maybe it might just be mental at this point. Something is clearly just very, very wrong with Ryan, or I'm well, definitely with Ryan Stanek too, but definitely something with Ryan Helsley. There you go. Anyway, guys, if you also want to call into the show, you could do that. Link to my Discord is in the description of this video. Go ahead, log in now if you want. I'll put you in the waiting room. I'm ready to take some phone calls if you guys want to talk Mets, chime in on anything, talk about the game today, talk about the next couple of weeks here with the season winding down. I want to hear from you guys. Phone calls are open right now on Discord, but let's go ahead back up here. We'll hear what Klay Holmes had to say. Like I said, I thought this was a pretty encouraging performance from Klay Holmes. I thought that he had some real nasty movement. I think he had better command today than what I've seen from him lately for sure. And he was getting a lot of chase, whiffs, swings and misses from the Tigers today. He's actually just talking about Ryan Helsley's struggles here, so not really what I want to hear, but let's listen anyway.
The most challenging part of going through what Helsley's going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been traded, mid-season. Yeah, I mean, I've been a closer. I've had a lot of success there, had some failures there. I mean, there's a lot that goes through all this stuff, and especially moving teams, moving roles. You're in a playoff chase. I mean, there's a lot that goes on there, and the game's never easy as it is. And when you add some of those things, there's times where you may not be your best, but I think we all have a lot of confidence in Ryan.
You're a good liar there, Klay Holmes, because I don't think anybody in that clubhouse has any confidence in Klay Holmes. I know if the clubhouse is anything like this fan base, there is very minimal, if any, confidence in Ryan Helsley right now. And again, I mean, this guy's pitching himself off the playoff roster. I mean, there's just almost no chance. But let's see what Mendy did have to say about trying to figure out Helsley's struggles. Let's see what he has to say about
taking the breaking ball.
Why it has turned for him like this.
They are hot with the mics today at SMY.
Performing so well before coming over.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Give Klay the Oscar.
This is a guy you look up, he's 102, and they continue to take some really good swings, and then the way they're taking the breaking ball too. And I don't think he's tipping related. He makes some adjustments. He's kind of like talking ahead. How do we help this guy? Because right now we're not doing that. And when you got that type of stuff and they keep hitting it like that, it's like something's going on here.
Yeah, something's going on. He keeps just giving up big home runs and triples down the line and doubles in the gap. I mean, geez, it's just been terrible for Helsley. And again, guys, the game is not fully on him, but he does put this one out of reach, and it's now just a building frustration that, we already mounted and boiled over with how poorly he has performed since coming over from St. Louis in that trade. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And it really scares you if this team does, in fact, make the playoffs. How are they going to get the final 6, probably even 9 to 12 outs of any given playoff game? We haven't heard much about Reed Garrett. Hopefully he comes back. Even he himself has been up and down. But outside of Edwin Diaz, who do you trust the most in this Mets bullpen? For me, I guess I'd have to say Brooks Raley. He's a lefty, though, so he's not going to be available for every particular matchup. After that, I guess it's Tyler Rogers, and even Rogers, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in, to be honest with you. I feel like he sits middle. I know he's got the deceptive delivery, but other than that, I feel like he's hittable. And then after that, I mean, Gregory Soto, who has had a lot of ups and downs as well since coming over. One of his downs being today, unable to get those inherited runners out and bail Klay Holmes out of that 5th inning. So So this bullpen is definitely hanging by a string. We want to talk about the rotation and all the issues that they're having, but this bullpen has not really inspired a lot of confidence either outside of Edwin Diaz. And so that is why I continue to say moving Holmes to the pen is probably the best option at this point. You bring Sproat up, put him in the rotation, and put Holmes into the back end of that bullpen where he had years of success being a closer, being a late inning reliever. You could even bring him in as a long man and continue his kind of mold of being a starter this year and help get 6-8 outs per game. But there's got to be some way to fix both of these things at the same time, and I just think that is the easiest, most straightforward way. But guys, how are you feeling about the Mets? Is this a frustrating loss to you? I mean, every loss sucks. This one, not really frustrating to me. More, actually, frustrating is the word that I will use. I'm not mad about it. I'm frustrated because it was a winnable game. It was one that they were hanging in there the whole time. They're just a base hit away from in that sixth inning from Starling Marte from taking the lead or doing a whole lot more, and instead they can't do it. It stays a one-run game until Helsley comes in, and then it just, completely craps out the window. CB says not even Ryan Helsley has confidence in Ryan Helsley. No, absolutely not. I mean, you could see it. He is wearing it right now. The body language is bad. Pete came over after he got yanked from the game, gave him a little pat on the ass, but when you're going bad like that, man, if you've ever played any sport or just anything that you're enjoy doing as a hobby, when you're not going well, it doesn't matter what kind of support you get from your teammates. It is hard to turn around. So not a good day, obviously, for the Mets bullpen and specifically their additions at the deadline in Gregory Soto and in Ryan Helsley. I think that's just about all the sound that we're going to get for right now. So let's just go to the box score. Lindor had the double today, and he does score on Pete Alonso's double immediately after that. Otherwise, pretty quiet series for Francisco Lindor. Was hitless coming into this one and just 1 for 3 today. He does draw 2 walks, so not terrible, but obviously not the most impressive series from Francisco Lindor. Juan Soto gets cooled off. His only hit, a bunt single in this one, but wow, what a series from him. Unfortunately, couldn't come through with anything too impactful in this game. Does draw a walk. Pete with a nice day. 3 for 4, including that RBI double into right center field. So that was nice to see from Pete, following up a really good game yesterday where he had 2 homers. Brandon Nimmo 1 for 4. Vientos 1 for 4 with that RBI base knock that made it 3-2. That was a really nice piece of hitting there from Mark. McNeil 1 for 2, also drew 2 walks. Jeff McNeil just been steady Eddie all season long. That 814 OPS. I mean, you love to see it from Jeff McNeil, who also makes a really nice play in center field before that first run scored there for the Tigers, as he was able to double off Torkelson trying to tag from first to second. Very nicely done by Jeff McNeil, who at this point should probably just be named the starting center fielder. You're getting absolutely nothing out of Cedric Mullins. Beatty and Vientos have been swinging a good bat for the most part lately. Jeff McNeil does not hurt you in center field defensively as much as they made it out to be. So I am rolling with Jeff McNeil as the everyday center fielder at this point. What do you guys think about that? I think that is 100% the way to go. CB says, I'm not mad we lost because we won the series. I'm just disappointed that Helsley still looks so terrible. I think that's a great way to put it, CB. Not mad. You won the series against the team with the best record in the American League despite the recent struggles of the Tigers, but frustrated because as you look to the future, toward this playoff race, toward October, how is this team going to get 9 to 12 outs from their bullpen? I just don't see how they do it. I could see you get a few from Raley, if you're lucky, a few from Soto, Rogers, and after that, it's basically Edwin Diaz. You're obviously not going to trust Ryan Stanek. Who knows if he'll even be on the playoff roster. Helsley has been a disaster. I don't know how he makes the playoff roster at this point. There's no Reed Garrett. There's no Huascar Brazoban. So Sproat getting the call, in my opinion, is the best way to fix this, or at least toward the solution, either Sproat pitching in the pen or Sproat going to the rotation and moving one of, if not both, Holmes and Manaya to the bullpen. That's how I think you go about this. Military Mike, what's up, man? He says, won the series, which is great, but with 22 games left, we need to rack up as many dubs as possible. Pitching continues to be a problem. Exactly, man. You got to just get as many wins in the tally mark as you can, and that is why it sucks. It's nice to win 2 out of 3 against a good team, but you would have liked like to have this one. It was a very winnable game. So yeah, that's the side that is frustrating to me. And then of course, like CB said above, to see that Helsley continues to struggle. Soto can't get the job done. The one job he was brought in here to do. I totally agree with you both there. CB says, I know, but expecting to sweep the Tigers isn't realistic. They played good overall. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not moved by this Tigers team. If we ended up somehow meeting them in the World Series, I would take my money on the Mets. I think the Mets are just as good, if not better than Detroit. I don't know if Detroit just had a bad series pitching-wise those first 2 games. They're definitely a pesky bunch at the plate for sure, but I'm not moved and ready to say, oh, they are clearly far and away the best team in the American League. No, not by any means. I don't think that, but yeah, it's nice to get the series W. It's hard to expect a sweep, but again, it's the intricate details of how they lose this one, like you said, CB, with not getting a good performance once again from Helsley and even Soto to a degree. John R., his new name is Ryan Helsley. Oh my God. I thought hell on earth with the apostrophe was pretty good for this thumbnail here, but I don't know. Maybe it didn't hit like I thought it was going to. Back to the lineup really quick. We'll wrap it up here. McNeil, I said already, 1 for 2 with 2 walks. Marte, brutal day. 0 for 4. Punch out the ground into the double play to end the bases loaded threat. Not a good day for Starling Marte. Brett Beatty, 0 for 4, had 3 hits yesterday, but overall not a great series for Brett Beatty. And then Hayden Singer, I mean, what do you expect? He goes 0 for 2 before getting pinch hit for Luis Torrens. So offense didn't do a whole lot. I mean, only 8 hits and you score 2 runs, and you're not going to win a lot of ball games that way, but obviously having a big 3-run homer there in the 7th inning and putting this one pretty much out of reach doesn't help either. So it's a little bit of combination of everything. Mets bats didn't do enough. Mets pitching couldn't keep it close enough for them to finally get into the groove and make that comeback. So tough loss for sure. CB says, I meant the Mets played good overall. Mets can def take to. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying the Mets played well overall. Yes, the Mets did play pretty well overall. Shamanaya has a stinker obviously on Monday of a start. The bullpen really wasn't that great on Monday, but the Mets offense does enough, mainly Juan Soto, to win game 1 of the series. Yesterday, the Mets bats just go absolutely bonkers. Nolan McLean, looking like a pro's pro, settles in after a rough inning or 2, and the Mets coast in that game yesterday. And then today, the Mets bats don't do enough early on, and then the pitching starts to melt down, and then by then it's a 6-2 game. But no errors, no sloppy baseball like we saw against the Marlins, so I'll give you that. Definitely not a bad series for the Mets at all. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here for the rest of the year, and then we're going to preview the next game, which will be on Friday against the Cincinnati Reds. But guys, we are coming down to the wire. It is getting closer and closer to the end. So the Mets conclude this series here with Detroit. They are off tomorrow before heading out to Cincinnati for a 3-game set with the Reds. We will see if the Mets are 4 or 5 games up on the Reds. They play the Blue Jays later today in the finale of that series. So the Mets could be 4 games up if the Reds win tonight, or they will be 5 games up if the Blue Jays can help us out and defeat Cincinnati. But we got that 3-game set coming up. After that, of course, we know the 4-game series with the Phillies. Who knows how many games back the Mets will be of Philadelphia for the National League East when that series begins. But 4 night games in Philadelphia, and obviously that's the division. They either win that or they don't. And if they win all 4, wow, now we're talking, but asking a lot to sweep the Phillies on the road in 4 games. We'll see when we get there, but schedule not super easy the rest of the way, and we knew that about September. 3 against the Rangers at home, who have definitely struggled a little bit lately, but still fighting for a playoff spot in the American League wildcard. 3 against the Padres, who we got absolutely dominated by out in San Diego back a month and a half or so ago. 3 with the Nats at home, who, I mean, can somehow beat the Marlins, even though we can't, but we know the Mets haven't played all too great against Washington. We swept them in 3 games at Citi Field back in June. So hopefully they could do that again here. And then they round out the season with 3 games on the road at Wrigley Field versus the Cubs and 3 more against the Marlins. Like I've said before, the Mets better have their playoff spot cemented by them, because I will not be able to handle a 3-game series against that pesky Marlins team if a playoff spot is on the line for the Mets. So hopefully it is all already situated before that final weekend series of the season. But the Mets got their work cut out for them. Fortunately, they are doing okay in terms of their lead for the third and final wild card spot. Let's hope it holds up. And again, huge series against the Reds this upcoming weekend. We're going to preview that one. But first, real quick, back to the chat. Military Mike didn't see Scooble, which would be tough in a 7-game series, but that's looking way down the line. Yeah, and again, that's all just me, speculating how it would look. But obviously the Mets have a lot of work cut out for them before they are thinking about potential World Series matchups. But Helsley is actually talking right now, but I'm not going to have time to listen to it with you guys because it's not going to get posted here for a little bit more. So let's go ahead and preview the upcoming series with the Reds, or at least the first game of the series, which will be Friday at Great American Ballpark. It will be David Peterson on the mound, who is looking to bounce back after a very ugly start against the Marlins his last time out on Saturday at Citi Field. Just 2 innings and gives up 8 runs in that one. Before that, had 2 pretty good starts. One against Atlanta, 5 2/3, 2 runs. Beginning of August against Cleveland, against Atlanta, roughed up in both of those. So hopefully the good David Peterson to begin a very important series against Cincinnati. And then meanwhile, pitching for the Reds, it's going to be Andrew Abbott, the left-hander, who we know the Mets have struggled against lefties this year. I think we did face him actually in the finale against the Reds at Citi Field back in July, and I believe the Mets did beat him. He did not pitch poorly, but the Mets scored, I believe it was a 3-2 win as they blew that game in the 9th. Edwin Diaz hit a batter with the bases loaded to force in the tying run, and then the Mets were able to get another run in the bottom of the 8th on I think it was like an infield fielder's choice, if I'm not mistaken. But lefties give the Mets fits, and this is one of the better ones in the league. 2.65 ERA in 24 starts so far this year. This is his 3rd year in the majors, and last time out for Abbott against the St. Louis Cardinals went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs. Before that, though, against the Diamondbacks, just 4 innings and gave up 6 earned runs. So who knows, guys? It's a toss-up at this point. We'll see what happens. The Mets have to go out and win 2 out of 3 against the Reds this weekend. It would go a long way toward help burying them for the rest of the season, that we don't have to worry about them for this third and final wild card spot. We also do have to now kind of worry about the San Francisco Giants. I don't want to say worry, but monitor them, as they are actually tied with the Reds for 5 games behind us for that wild card spot. So 2 teams not on our heels necessarily, but 4.5 games back as of this moment after the Mets dropped this game to the Tigers this afternoon. We're going to wrap it up here with Ryan Helsley, hear what he has to say about his performance here.
Success in this league. What is the most difficult part of just trying to find your way back right now?
Yeah, just trying anything and everything. It feels like make a good pitch and it gets hit, and then mistakes obviously get hit as well. And seems like everything
gets hit, dude.
Obviously can't walk guys and got to compete out there, and just keep trying to get after it. When I'm out there.
Ryan, you've obviously
look, guys, we all have things to say about him, and it's nothing personal. Obviously, he just hasn't been good. He hasn't been good for our team, and so it's frustrating, and we don't like him. But on a personal level, I'm sure he's a good dude. I'm sure he's trying everything he can, but sometimes the harsh truth is necessary, and that is that he is unpitchable right now. And I don't want to see Ryan Helsley pitching in a game unless we're talking about a 6-7 run lead or a 6-7 run deficit. They call that mop-up duty. And I think that is going to be the case here moving forward for Carlos Mendoza as they look to make the playoffs here for the 2nd consecutive year. But guys, tough loss, obviously. Would have loved the sweep, but the Mets do take care of business, winning 2 out of 3 here against the best team in the American League. So we'll hang our hats on that. We'll take it. We have an off day tomorrow. I'll have more content coming out for you, though. Go ahead, leave this video a like if you have not already. We are going to wrap things up, but let me say my thank yous real quick to Absol, to D-Rails, to David Schultz, to Armand, to Absol. I already said you, to Edward, Christian, Aquan, to Red Bear Fox, CB24203. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Mark Rapp. Thank you to Danny Caps. And thank you to Military Mike and John R. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you guys. Real quick here, Military Mike says Giants have a soft remaining schedule. I'm definitely a little worried about them. Good thing we have the tiebreaker on them. Have to bury the Reds this weekend. I agree. Must wrap it up before 100%. Military Mike, I'm totally with you. You have a good day as well. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with another post-game recap after Friday night's series opener against the Cincinnati Reds. But until then, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.